Hey everyone, welcome to Campbell's Coins. Gold confiscation has happened in the past, in America's past, but is it possible for governments to confiscate now? I'll go over my reasons why it is possible, ways to avoid it, and more. Coming up. Now, I know what you're thinking. What the hell, Campbell? You just told us to buy gold and silver, and now you're telling us it could be confiscated? Yes, I want you to be aware of what governments are capable of when they want to assume more power. In 1933, President Roosevelt signed Executive Order 6102, which made it illegal to own gold within the U.S. The order was made under the authority of the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917. The Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917 was signed during World War I and restricted any and all trade between the U.S. and its enemies in times of war. Congress later extended the reach of this act to times of peace as well. Are you noticing some big red flags here? The U.S. was essentially calling its own citizens who held gold enemies of the state. There were a few exceptions to the gold ban. Gold numismatic coins and gold jewelry was allowed, but one had to prove that they were a coin dealer dealing with rare numismatic coins in order to be given an exemption. Every citizen could keep up to 5 ounces of gold, but to give an extra to the citizens of this country, the day after the deadline to turn in all gold bullion, the government raised the spot price of gold from $21.67 an ounce to over $35 an ounce. That's right, after paying citizens roughly $21 in paper money for their gold that the government decreed must be turned in, President Roosevelt raised the price of gold to $35 an ounce, effectively robbing people 58% of their wealth in a single day. Some people argue that the gold spot rose due to demand across the world, but it is a little strange that it happened the day after the turn in your gold deadline. Those who were well connected knew of this confiscation coming and shipped their gold to Europe, where such restrictions did not exist. A lot of pre-33 gold coins were melted down into bars to pay off debts. In 1974, Gerald Ford repealed this order, once again allowing private ownership of gold coins, bars, and certificates. I'll go over pre-33 gold in a little bit in this video, so just hang on. I heard an excellent story on YouTube about gold confiscation, and I wanted to share this short clip with you because I could never do it justice explaining it myself.
We tell the audience the story about your grandfather and gold confiscation back in the 30s.
Well, his mother called 4 children into the living room of their house, and she sat them down and opened up a cigar box filled with gold coins from the 19th century, and she told all the kids they could pick one coin. You know, Roosevelt had declared gold illegal for private ownership, but you could have up to 5 ounces. She had 4 kids and herself and her husband, so they kept a few ounces, and the kids got to pick one out. My grandfather told me in vivid detail what this was like. I mean, he was a teenager at that time, and then she took the gold down and exchanged it for the federally mandated price of roughly $21 an ounce. And then quickly thereafter, Roosevelt raised the price to 35, so that was a big devaluation. Now, I always was upset with my grandfather. He's passed now. I said, well, why did she sell out like that? You know, why would she do that? And he told me, he said, listen, you got to understand something. Every single newspaper had editorials about how gold was they were demonizing gold. And so if you were to have kept all this gold, you would have thought surely you're a traitor. You're against the U.S. So there was quite a big media campaign against gold at the time. And everyone turned in the gold. The government needed the gold. And the U.S. had the dominant gold position in the world. And they maintained that until really the early 70s, late 60s when things kind of fell apart. And
But Campbell's, gold confiscation happened before, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen again. Wrong. In fact, I feel it is more likely to happen. Gold is slowly being demonized already. Right now, states are taxing the purchase of precious metals like gold and silver. In California, one has to purchase over $1,500 in precious metals in one purchase to avoid this tax. Any purchases under $1,500 get taxed, and I'm sure it's different in other states, but it's happening in more and more states. People laugh and scoff at the ridiculous laws passed here in California. Then similar laws start passing in their state. Gun law is a good example. Don't take what you have for granted. APMEX has an excellent state-to-state precious metals tax rules and regulations guide on their website. I've included that link in the description below. Unless you sell American gold and silver eagles, you are responsible for paying capital gains taxes on any profit made selling precious metals. Individually, all these things don't equal up to gold confiscation, but rather they are stepping stones in the road to confiscation by controlling what people get. This is why governments tax items, to regulate it, to make it harder and harder to get or to do those activities. California is a prime example of control. We have the highest gas taxes in the nation. The purpose, we are told, is to improve roadways and the environment. We have some of the worst roadways in the nation, and those have not been fixed in decades. The purpose of these gas taxes is to make it more cost prohibitive to drive. The less cars on the road, the better for the environment. They do it with cigarettes too. They say that the tax is for education about the ill effects of cigarettes. Who in this world honestly thinks cigarettes are good for you? No one. Everyone in the world knows that cigarettes are bad for you. And my final example, guns. California hates that law-abiding citizens have firearms. They make it as cost prohibitive and a pain to access them as possible so that people give up. There are about $80 worth of charges before you can go buy a gun. And now they have an ammo bill passed that taxes ammo. This isn't unique to the United States. Countries all over the world are tightly controlling their population from accessing things, including precious metals. Germany requires dealers to notify them if a purchase is $2,000 and over. If they don't, they incur heavy fines. Britain doesn't tax British gold and silver, but they tax the crap out of gold and silver imported into the country. This leaves the British people with only one financially reasonable source of precious metals. A lot of countries in the European Union have added a value-added tax, also known as VAT, to precious metals, and it's not a small tax either. While gold coins and bullion are VAT exempt, they demonize silver. Here are the VATs for silver. In Finland, they pay 23%. Germany is 19%. Netherlands, also 19%. Slovenia, 20%. Russia has a 20% tax. Sweden has a 25% tax. Switzerland is 8%, which actually surprised me. Britain is 20%, and Austria is also 20%. What can you do to avoid a gold confiscation? There are a few options. You can do what they did in the 1930s. Store your metals in a country that doesn't have a history of demonizing precious metals. I do not recommend this at all because I live by the motto, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. If the crap hits the fan and you need to get your gold now, how are you going to get it? Are you going to fly there and fly back safely? Who's to say that that country won't do a gold confiscation too, and they raid the facility you're storing your precious metals in? All in all, I think it's a very bad idea to store your gold abroad. You can store your precious metals in a bank or storage facility, but I also wouldn't recommend it. That is one of the easiest ways that they can confiscate your metals. Have you noticed how difficult it is to withdraw a large amount of money from the bank? One has to make an appointment. Then they ask you extremely invasive questions about What are you doing with your own money? It's none of their business, but they still ask. It is especially difficult to get what is yours during this pandemic. What happens if you need your precious metals and it's after hours? What can you do if they are closed for an extended period of time? In 1933, Franklin Roosevelt closed all the banks by executive order. They reopened 8 days later, but nobody knew when they were going to reopen because that wasn't established when they shut down. They called it a banking holiday. It was no holiday. In 2013, all the banks in Cyprus closed. In 2015, all the banks in Greece were closed. People flew to Germany to get suitcases full of euros. All of these things have happened before. They happened under duress, under stress, and in times of uncertainty. To say it will never happen here is simply wrong and ignorant. If you look at the contracts for your checking and savings account, as soon as you hand them your money, it is no longer your money. It is the bank's money. They decide to give it back to you. When times are good, they give it back to you freely. But when times aren't good, they can withhold it from you. The stock exchange has halted trading numerous times in the past 2 years because of free falling markets. It's called the plunge protection team. All you have to do is look at history, and it's not distant history either. People who assume it can't happen or won't happen are taking things for granted. One of the ways that you can protect yourself is to buy jewelry. Countries that have enacted a gold confiscation, the line of this confiscation does not cross jewelry. Aside from Germany and Italy during World War II, I have not seen gold jewelry confiscated. However, jewelry is more expensive than the gold content you're receiving, so you have to decide for yourself if it's going to be a good strategy for you. Another option is to simply don't follow the law. I'm not advocating for this option, but it is an option you have. Don't follow their stupid laws. Hide your gold from the looters of this world. The people who hid Anne Frank in Nazi Germany were breaking the law. The people who killed her were following it. Most laws are stupid and designed to control the population. Just be a decent human being. Why do we love gold? Do we love it because it's yellow? Or because it's shiny? Or because it just sits there? No. We love gold for what it represents. It represents personal freedom. You can't track or trace purchases. It's like using cash. And the governments of the world, including our own, are aware of this issue. They want to eliminate it so that they can track what you purchase and punish you accordingly. My final option to avoid a gold confiscation is to purchase pre-33 gold, collectible gold. What is pre-33 gold? It is gold coins minted in America prior to 1933. These coins contain 90% pure gold and 10% copper. Collectible gold was an exemption during the last confiscation, same as jewelry, and it is safe to say that it could be this time around. That doesn't mean that they won't enact it into this new confiscation and say everything is banned. But if we were playing off of the rules that they had set up before, jewelry and numismatic coins could be safe. My point is, please do not think that because you live in the US, a gold confiscation isn't possible, because you can see the steps governments are taking to clamp down on them. What do you think of a gold confiscation happening in the United States? One shudders at the thought, but please let me know in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. This is Campbell's Coins, and that is my 2 cents.